Danijel Grah will be presenting nature, Darwin, and bug bounty hunting. When the Q&A starts, you'll be going to the microphone and speaking.
Okay, let's talk about nature, Darwin, and bug bounty hunting. First, how many bug bounty hunters are here in this room? Please raise your hands. Nobody? Do you know even what bug bounty is? Anybody? Yeah, great audience. But what has nature to do with bug bounty hunting? It turns out that nature is actually cruel. You have one animal feeding another, and if you don't believe me, try to swim in a water near Bahamas, and you will see the end result. So, on the other side, nature is also beautiful, and we can learn much of it. For example, hunting techniques. And as the name implies, bug bounty hunting is part of bug bounty. So, who am I? Not a stranger at all. 2014, I presented with Milan Gabor. Milan, is he here? Raise your hand. Yeah. Vaccine, a tool for reversing conduit application, and basically we showed you how to cheat in mobile games. The next year, Milan presented Elk Stack for hackers, how to analyze Wi-Fi packets. And if you don't know, ELK stands for Elasticsearch Log Station Kibana. We also run the CTF here. Anybody playing CTF last year? Okay. How is this year going? Not so well? It's interesting, okay. So now it's 2016 and I'm back. So hi everybody. Here's my list of bugs that I discovered. So if you can see from the timeline here, I was barely active for 1 month. The main reason for this is my motivation behind it, because I'm a security consultant at Viris, and I do a lot of pen testing, security assessment, everything you can imagine about security. And I just wanted to prove to myself that I am good at this. Why? Because bug bounty hunting is quite competitive. You have a lot of bug bounty hunters with a lot of knowledge and so on. So this is my timeline of discovered bugs. I will try to explain these bugs through the presentation and try to give you some basic information how to start bug bounty hunting, why you should, why you shouldn't, and what you should do. So we will try to answer those basic questions. And the Pandora's box is, of course, how to do bug bounty hunting, how to be effective, how to be famous, how to earn money, do it for a living. So why bug bounty hunting? Some do it for money. Some do it for fame. But of course, if you have a lot of money in bug bounty hunting, this is like you have a lot of fame. The others do it because they want to learn something new. My advice to you is do it for fun, because if you do it for fun, other things will naturally follow. So you will learn a lot, you will have money, and you have fame. And why do it? Because even kids can do it. This is an article about a 10-year boy. He found a bug in Instagram and got 10,000 for it. So basically, if a 10-year-old kid can do, you can also do it. But it's kind of depressing if you're hacking, let's say, for 8 hours and then you read such an article. Please don't give up. Maybe he got luck, maybe he's a genius, and don't compare yourself to others. And evenly, if you think positively, you can pick a strategy out of it. You have 10 children turned into bug bounty hunters, and you got a living. So, but I don't know, I don't have children. They say the children never listen, so maybe you have chances that 2 out of 10 will be bug bounty hunters. So good luck with the rest 8. Why not bug bounty? A lack of time. Of course, this was my, let's say, factor why I didn't do bug bounty more, but it's up to you actually. It's not because I didn't have time, but because I was not willing to spend a lot of time more. It can be unhealthy, it depends, and it can be stressful. I don't know, for me it wasn't, but I put it on the slide because it's a fancy and popular word these days. So who are the hunters? If you start bug bounty, you just face it. There will be 1,000 people with more knowledge than you. Probably they have more time than you, and some are like you. So you will feel like this little guy here if you start and competing against those. But as I said, don't compare yourself to others. Try to learn something new and things will naturally follow. And who's the hunted? Basically, those are big, medium, small companies with big, corporations like Google, Facebook, Twitter, Yahoo, you name it. And also the others. Pentagon joined the bug bounty program. It's kind of interesting that the government starts to run a program and maybe not interested, encouraging for the bug bounty community, because this means that at bug bounty we are doing something good when it comes in terms of security. And also some exotic companies like Pornhub. Anybody try to hack Pornhub here? No? Oh, sorry. Actually, I was really interested in hacking this, but I didn't know how to explain this to my girlfriend because, imagine, honey, what are you doing? Oh, I'm trying to find SQL injection. Oh. No, it's like that, I see. So, but other did and find some awesome bugs like remote code execution and stuff like this. And you can see the variety of companies that are doing bug bounty is quite, let's say, a positive thing here in bug bounty business. And how a company tries to run a program. This picture was taken in Nisa before the set events. I was there on the street, and this was a shop owner. And this was here his cashier registry, and he was running for a toilet and put this dog on the side. So you can do, or let's say run a program like this. It's rather optimistic, but I recommend that you do first a security assessment, you do a pen test, and then you go into bug bounty hunting. How many of you know the difference between security assessment, pen test? No one? Yeah, of course you know. Basically, security assessment is like this. You try to cover the whole area, try to find vulnerabilities, and you end up with a proof of concept. In pen test, you shoot like this. You try to exploit as far as you can. And of course, social engineering is also included. Bug bounty is not different in terms like for example, if you companies running a program and they are actually glad if you discover something, and they are not glad if you try to exploit them so much. So you show them a proof of concept and that's it. For example, if you have remote code execution, you just output a date comment or who am I, and show them that it's possible, and not try to hack the server and get their emails and so on. So in this sense, bug bounty is not so different from security assessment. But it's different in terms of resources. In bug bounty, you have unlimited people that are trying to hack you. You have unlimited time. And if you try to run a program, you should first do a security assessment from inside and from the outside. Then you should do a pen test. And eventually, after some time, a bug bounty program. Now that we know why do it and who does it, let's talk about how to do it. The first thing is knowledge. If you have a decent amount of knowledge, you should go. But if you don't, you should acquire knowledge. Then you can register at HackerOne or Bugcrowd, for example, are platforms for bug bounty hunters. Anybody know HackerOne? Okay, Bugcrowd? Okay. I started at HackerOne, then I registered at Bugcrowd, but then eventually my time went off. We will talk also about strategy. If you choose your strategy, then you should choose your program and go for it. But remember to learn and evolve constantly. So, it's not so easy. I found a thread at Bugcrowd forum. They recommend you how to start a bug bounty, how to start hunting bugs. And the first thing they recommend is to start reading. This is the step where you need to acquire knowledge. Of course, I would recommend these resources also to all pen testers, security assessment, because those books are great. And if we compare ourselves, bug bounty hunters, with human evolution, then this phase is like a monkey. So if you start bug bounty hunting, no offense, we all did it, we were monkeys. And this was a selfie. Okay. They at Bugcrowd forum recommend a lot of steps before you start. It's up to you. I mean, if you have enough knowledge, you should start it right away. I don't disadvise you because I did it and did some mistakes. So if you are again comparing bug bounty with evolution, you can see first you are a monkey. Then you try to stand up, then you got some tools and know how to use them. Then you develop even more techniques and sophisticated tools. At the end, you find yourself sitting in front of a computer for 16 hours a day. And no, this is not how you will end. You will marry a princess and live happy ever after. But let's face it, you need time in order to be successful in bug bounty business. And of course, evolution, learning. So my mistakes. Let's say I had a decent amount of knowledge and just ran into a program. I registered at HackerOne and tried to hack Uber. And after a while, I didn't even read the rules for Uber. I just said, okay, the scope is everything, I can hack, and I did it. After hacking for, let's say, 8 hours, I didn't find anything. I was a little bit disappointed, except this Miller bug. It's content injection. Basically, you can put a message into it. This message said you should call something. Can be used for social engineering and phishing and stuff like this. but the program rules stated that this is out of scope and is not eligible for bounty. But I didn't read the program rules, so I submitted directly, and also tried to name it some fancy like arbitrary text inclusion. Of course, they rejected my report and also lowered my reputation level, because on HackerOne, for every successful bug that you submit, you increase your reputation. And this was my first submission, and I got totally rejected. But I didn't lose hope. Then I discovered another bug. Let's say I read a blog post about brute force amplification attack. Anybody know brute force? Okay. For those that don't know, it's affecting WordPress, and basically what you can do is send a combination of 1,000 username and passwords, for example, to the server, and the server replies for all the combinations if a combination is valid or not. So you can imagine that you can run your word list pretty fast, because as you know, if you try to brute force something on web, you have some delay. And I reported to them this vulnerability. They said it's an issue, but basically they had some other protections, so after a few requests they shut you down, and didn't say how they do it, but I almost got rewarded for this bug, which was encouraging. But after I spent some time, I tried to think of it, how to do bug bounty, because as you can see, I was not effective. So I tried to find a strategy and try to employ a strategy. Only three factors I considered, as discover your skills, what you're good at it, how much time you're willing to spend, and how much time you have, and what's your motivation. Want to do it for fun, for money, for fame? It's up to you. I did it for proof of a point that I'm good at my job, so it's up to you. So this was my way. I'm good at web and mobile. My weakness was time, not because I didn't have it, because I was not willing to spend a lot of time sitting in front of a computer. Okay, the other thing is learning and challenge. For me, for example, hacking is like for others crossword puzzles. It's a mental challenge, and as I said, I just want to prove that. Because I was good at web, what's important here is to discover, let's say, hosts. If you want to do a bug bounty against a program and they say, for example, yahoo.com, every subdomain is allowed, then you need to find subdomains. Then you need to find interesting hosts. And if you find an interesting host, you try to find hidden content and functionality that shouldn't be there maybe, or is doing something else they didn't foresee. After that, you analyze the things, you scan it, you fuss, and so on. So I used, here are some of the let's say tools and resources that I use. Of course, Burp, I prefer Burp over Zap. How many of you are using Zap attack proxy? Burp? Oh, it's 50-50. Of course, Kali Linux distribution, Nikto, Nessus, the free version, VFast, Deerbuster. Of course, also a rooted phone. If you want to run and see what an application on a phone does, you should have a rooted phone. The other resources, which are kind of great for discovery and fuzzing, are Seclist on GitHub available. There you have DNS names, directories, payloads, and so on, and also FuzzDB. The other hot topic is polyglots. Anybody know what polyglot is? 1, 2, 3, okay. polyglot is a payload that executes in different contexts. For example, if you take this XSS, according to the author, should fire on single quote tag attribute, double quote tag attribute, and even without tag attributes. What this means is actually you send one payload to the server and it covers all the different contexts. So you're shrinking the traffic between the server in order to find a vulnerability. If the scanners and fuzzers and other tools didn't pick it up, they will soon, because it's a hot topic. Also, SQL injection can be covered for different times, and I think we should follow this area because it's an interesting topic, I said. So about subdomains. In bug bounty, web hunting, subdomains is pretty hot topic. Do you know passive DNS? Yeah, of course, you know, because I would not talk to the right audience if you didn't know. Basically, they store queries anonymously about client requests, and those databases are pretty useful for malware analysis, and as it turns out, it's also useful for bug bounty hunters. Of course, for example, VirusTotal has a database. If you run a domain search, you can find subdomains interesting. DNS Dumpster, for example, has a service to uncover subdomains. And the other things you can do in discovering subdomains is brute forcing. But you need to have a valid list and algorithm, for example. Best bug bounty hunters have their own algorithm for discovering subdomains. And they use tools like ReconNG, Anomal. Anomal is basically a wrapper that was written around ReconNG by Jason Hedix. Was the #1 at Bugcrowd for some time. I didn't know if he's still the #1. I use DNS Recon, and I use some, let's say, I have my own list of subdomains. Of course, this should be also included in strategy. The next thing I was doing to ease myself in bug bounty hunting and to make it easier for me was to write a Python script, for example, for discovering subdomains. I'm not a fan of 100 liners to present at a conference because it's a little bit shabby, but it's quite easy and effective. So the one thing here to know is ALK, is Elasticsearch Log Station Kibana, and you barely can put anything into it. So I decided to put subdomains into it. What this script does is it takes a word list and discovers a subdomain. Then it does an nmap scan on these ports, which are the most often ports used for web applications. And if it finds a service, then it puts it into Elasticsearch. And of course, then you can visualize these subdomains. This is some output in Kibana, for example. You can see the subdomain, you can see the title extracted, if a port is open, and so on. So you can imagine you just run the script, run for coffee, and come back and see all the interesting hosts. This can make your life, let's say, pretty easier. And this tactic paid off. I discovered our reflected XSS in Ubiquiti networks. I found a host which looked interesting, and this XSS was from a textbook. Like, it took me 1 minute to exploit it, and because I write a lot of reports, I just submitted a report, and the whole thing took, let's say, for 15 minutes. And they paid me $300, I think. Not much, but for 50 minutes of work, not bad at all. But as I said, you need to run these tools, discover subdomains, and if you have everything set up, then it becomes easier. So let's talk about how to choose a target. This is a nice picture of burp, zap, and icto hunting. And if you imagine this as, for example, a large company running, for example, yahoo.com, and those are all valid hosts. And how can one know which host is interesting? How to pick a target? So my strategy was, for example, you discover some similarities between technology they use, architecture. And for example, if they use for their public websites Apache, PHP, Drupal as CMS framework, and they do it because it's actually easier to maintain, to update, and so on. But then, after you are scanning and discover all of those hosts running the same software, you find a Node.js server. So probably this should be a target because they have not so much experience in attacking those hosts. I mean, not attacking, protecting those hosts. So I guess we are choosing outrunners, which differ in technology. The other thing, what are outrunners is basically a shortcut. If you do a lot of pen testing and security assessment, you will find yourself thinking like a developer. And for example, you will choose functionality that was added after. It's not the main branch. It was added like a shortcut. So if you're talking about one application, this is another thing to consider as focus not on the main branch, and of course different technology. Also the other thing is if a web application is running on a different port than 80 or 443, this should be maybe your target. So think of it, and for me it paid off because I find XSS in Flickr. Anybody using Flickr? No one? I think Yahoo bought Flickr, and it's a large platform for sharing content. So this XSS was by uploading an icon for your avatar, and basically what they did is if you were uploading the icon, they transfer it to a server, a farm, and they included the URL directly into JavaScript. They encoded everything, except one single quote. And if you induced a new quote, like here, I hope you can see it, you could basically write JavaScript. This was discovered also really fast, and they awarded me, I think, $300 or something like this. Not much, but it was very satisfying because you probably guess that a lot of bug bounty hunters have been looking into this and they didn't find it. And this was satisfying for me. Let's talk about another thing, mobile. Anybody, let's say, how many of you use Android? iPhone? No iPhone. Only one. I also use Android, and if you do bug bounty hunting, most of the companies are developing stuff for both platforms, and they unify things, not the client part, at least the server part. And I choose, for example, Android because I'm more familiar with it. And the other thing I like to choose in mobile application is the communication with the server. Okay, the client side is also interesting because how they store information and so on, but I'm more interested in their API because Always, I mean, they often place SSL pinning, and then they think they are secure because, okay, I have SSL pinning. Now you can, you don't know what's the right request to the server, and you cannot exploit me, and they don't check the payloads. So this is the biggest mistake they are making. Do you know SSL pinning? Okay. So if we talk about Android, you can bypass SSL pinning using a framework like Cydia Substrate, which is basically for also for iOS, and Exposed. And this is the easy way. You download a module, and then with one click, you should be fine and see the request between the application and the server. But sometimes it didn't work. And basically what they do is hooking the get trust manager methods and instructing the application to, or let's say the API of Android, to trust all the certificates. So you can place your, for example, if you use burp, and be man in the middle and see all the requests. So using a framework is the easy way to do it. The hard way is modifying the application. I'm talking again about Android. And I found two things what you can do here. Is replacing the key store. And of course you need to do the reverse engineering. You need to discover the password for the key store and extract the application and replace the key store. Inside the key store should be your burp certificate, and you're good to go. Of course you can do also modify the code, but this means in Android that you need to read smaller code, which is not so fancy at all. And if you replace the code, you pack it and sign it, and you are good to go. This is the hard way, because I found out that, for example, this application that I analyzed, the developers that are developing, let's say, regular application are going hand in hand with malware, because they try to protect their application. And what do you think is this? Any clue? No clue at all? Just shoot it. This is base64 encoded byte stream of a key store. And this was directly in Java source code. So I didn't know which part they use. If they use the key store on the package, or they use this key store. So I replaced both of them. This is how I did it. I just created a key store, placed burp certificate into it, and also I did the reverse engineering part, and I discovered the password. Then the next step is to write some Java code and transform this key store into base64 encoded byte stream and place it into this part of code, and you're good to go. It's kind of hard to do these things, and I did it almost for 1 weekend that I discovered, reverse engineered, and what's going on. And after that, I was successful. I saw the request, and I quit because I was so satisfied to see the request. I didn't even test the API anymore. But this was a mistake, of course. The next thing I would like to talk about is don't give up. These are my failures, because sometimes if you if you're doing bug bounty, you're running into some, let's say, unpredictable situations. I reported to Ubiquiti Networks that Django debug is enabled. Luckily for them, it was on a newer version, so the error produced some stuck. The error showed some information about what models are used, which usernames there are, and so on. But they actually said to me, what's the problem? So I said, okay, a lot of information is revealed, you cannot exploit it directly. So they said, okay, it's not eligible for bounty. I didn't know even, I think they fixed it, but no thanks, no, not at all. So maybe sometimes you will run into this kind of situation. The other time you will run into a situation like if you are reporting a duplicate. I found on XSS in a survey at Ubiquiti Networks, and it turns out it was a duplicate. So they say thank you, but already one bug bounty hunter reported it already. The other things is you will miss stuff a lot actually. Here a bug bounty hunter, I think it was Orange nickname, discovered template injection. Anybody know this vulnerability? Only one? Okay. It's about basically with template injection you can run remote code, and this vulnerability was present in the profile of Uber. I was checking the Uber and I thought this may be interesting, but it turned out that every request that you try to change in your profile, they sent you an email, and I was not willing to run a tool, a scanner into it, because I would get easily 1,000 and more emails. But if I did, I would discover this, because most scanners are having those payloads already inside. So basically, here is the lesson that you need to have updated scanners. The other thing is don't give up, because you will miss stuff, actually a lot, because you will hack some sub-site and then you discover, how can I miss that? But you did. And the other thing is you will find something what others didn't, which is, let's say, pretty satisfying. So let's talk about statistics. If I spent, I was doing bug bounty for 1 month or maybe more. I spent 30 hours. Basically, it was 60 because I trying to push my ego a little bit. I got $600 for it. This is $20 an hour, which is not bad at all. But of course, you have the uncertainty that you will find something. It's like running a business. Sometimes you have projects, sometimes you don't. But as they say, no risk, no fun. The other thing is, I found a report about the state of bug bounty at Bugcrowd, and they said that top 10 hunters are basically getting 23% of total payout. This means that I think 2016 they paid out $2 million, and this got divided to top 10 bug bounty hunters, and the rest just got, everything was left. So if you consider doing bug bounty for a living, be good at it. My advice is to you is keep your jobs and do it for fun and try to learn something new. I put some resources here up. As I said, VirusTotal, for example, to discovering subdomains, also DNM DNS dumpster. Here's a blog post about how to get started into bug bounty, and some resources on GitHub. Basically lists of payloads and stuff like that. So I hope you consider after this presentation doing some bug bounty. And what I forgot to say is when I'm stuck at bug bounty, I always watch a talk on bug bounty at YouTube. My inspiration was Jason Hedricks. I started after listening to his talk. And I think you should also look at some videos, read proof of concepts, and of course you first need to acquire knowledge and don't make the mistake as I did, not to read the program rules and so on. So this is basically this, what I'm trying to say here. So questions? Yes, you should come to the micro.
I have a question. If you join forces with other researchers for bug bounty, is it able to be in that 23% in those 10?
If it's able, yeah, of course.
So you want to join forces?
This is an offer.
Yeah.
Of course I want to join forces.
Okay, great. So we
Let's
might
talk
join
after the
forces and
presentation.
get those 1 million euros, say? Yeah.
I think it's enough with 500,000.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other question? Oh, come on. One. Okay. Sorry. Next.
Okay, does the black market pays more than for bugs?
I don't have experience in the black market, but I guess it does.
Sure you don't. Just kidding.
There's another question.
Hello.
Hi.
First of all, congratulations for the presentation.
Thank you.
Congratulations for the presentation. I would like to ask you if the companies that are doing the bug bounty programs are exploiting the fact that they have a bug bounty program, so they do not actually give so many money to the actual security and penetration testing and all this stuff. And can you understand the question?
Yeah, as I said, I recommend to companies to do first the security assessment and stuff like this. But as you know, security assessments are always limited with time and also resources. Some people are working and in a bug bounty program they are don't. But if you run straight into a bug bounty program, you need to have a lot of money. But of course there are also programs that don't give away money, just thank you. And for example, if you look at Buckroad, you have a lot of programs doing it just for thank you. So here the basic concept is for fun and to enhance the security of companies. So I didn't know if I answered the question. Okay. Any other questions? There's one.
Hello. What
Hi.
happens if you really break something? You said you had experience with going against the rules or something. And do you have legal applications on that, or
They are
know.
not so strict at it because this guy Orange that discovered this bug already published a blog post and they didn't even fix it. So he removed the blog post after that and they said okay, it's okay. but it depends. I think the highest bounty was paid. I don't know actually the story about it, but the highest bounty was paid because some hacker was actually not showing just proof of concept, but taking over a large part of the network. So it depends. In bug bounty, as always in pentest and security, you are walking on the gray line, and if you step a little left, you're on the black side. If you step on the right, you're on the white. So it depends.
Thank you.
Other questions? If no questions, you can catch me up. I will be here today and tomorrow. So we can talk about bug bounty, maybe join some forces. So thank you.